Thank you for joining me. I'm Wendy Carrillo. You can follow me on Twitter at Wendy Carrillo and get a podcast of this show on my blog at power106.com. Have you ever heard of TED Talks? They are these amazing short talks by incredible people doing amazing things. That's how I came to know about Ron Finley, who is an urban farmer out of South Los Angeles and is drastically changing the way we look at food and what we put in our bodies. Hi, Ron. It's Wendy from Power 106.
Hi, Wendy from Power 106. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Beautiful.
Well, let's get started. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me about how you got started with urban farming in South LA.
I mean, my start goes all the way, back to elementary school, Raymond Avenue. I mean, a lot of the stuff I do now, I did then, as far as starting seeds and watching them grow, in the paper towels and in the Petri dishes that you said, and that we did in elementary school. It's where a lot of I still practice that. I still start seeds that way. So it's in us, and my belief is basically we all are gardeners. It's just a lot of us don't remember it. Don't remember that we're gardeners.
So South LA is obviously a community that has a lot of fast food. There's not a lot of urban open spaces or green spaces for that matter. I love in the video that you did with TED Talk that you talk about being a gangsta gardener. How has that been influential with the people in South LA, and especially with young people who may not necessarily think it's cool to plant your own garden?
That's where I think where we need to flip the script and change the vernacular and change what a gangster is. My belief and the people around me, the belief is if you're not providing for yourself, if you're not self-sufficient, if you're not healing your environment, if you're not helping, you ain't a gangster. To me, that's what gangsters should be. Gangsters is empowering and helping others. Not what it really stands for right now. What's beautiful, the first part of what you asked me about, this being I call it a food prison, is the fact that we had somewhat of a win, a victory, and a lot of it was a big help was the Community Health Council over in, that was at Baldwin Hills. We had a victory in City Hall where some of the council members wanted to extend the moratorium on fast food restaurants. Not only did they not extend it, they expanded it to encompass all of South Central, and also they've committed to putting in more green spaces and building and bringing in healthy, fresh produce. Which a lot of people don't realize too. Whole Foods, they have a commitment with their nonprofit to bring in healthy, fresh food into food deserts. Also, they're not going to be they've already put in, I think, some in Detroit and some other places. They're not going to be full-on Whole Food stores, but there are going to be healthy, fresh food, which, as you know, if you're here, it's a needle in a haystack.
So I grew up in East LA and lived in South LA for a while.
Same difference.
Yeah. I love that you still call it South Central. That's the OG name. And you drive down these streets, you drive down Florence or Manchester or Normandy, Western, and you don't see a lot of options. And so and a lot of it I think has to do with...
You see a lot, not interrupting you, but you see a lot of churches.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, and not the religious kind. You're talking about the restaurant kind, right?
I'm talking about both of them.
that also. But a lot of it, maybe, Ron, has to do with, it's really expensive to eat healthy. So what can parents do?
Not really expensive to eat healthy, I don't think. That's why we encourage people to get gangster with your shovel and grow your own food yourself, where you don't have a footprint that travels, across town for you to get healthy food. You open your door and your food should be there. You shouldn't wait for anybody. We shouldn't have to wait for people to do stuff for us and bring it to us. Do it yourself. Become self-sufficient. A lot of people don't know that this food is killing them. A lot of people don't know, about the GMO debates or what a GMO is. And it's a lot of education that needs to be done in our communities. It's like I said, when you see these wheelchairs for sale on the side of the streets, you don't see that in Brentwood. You don't see that in Pasadena. You don't see that in other communities. And what all this represents to me is that somebody died, and now this chair has another space, is open for somebody else to die in it. And that's all that means to me. And you see just tons of them around the city. So it's like a business now.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that are suffering from diabetes. They have high cholesterol. They need dialysis. And you see these dialysis centers also pop up in these communities, and you wonder, when did that become normal?
Okay, I gotta, because of my TED, and I mean this was last week, and it was a shocker to me, but it also was so touching to me. I got a call from the Vita dialysis centers, and I was shocked and amazed, and they want to help. They said, we want to help. We want to help the communities of the patients that we work with, and so I'm going to be meeting with them, and they're talking about putting in gardens and having workshops and the whole nine. So this is a good thing that has one of the big lights for me that has come out of my TED Talk.
Absolutely. So you had this talk, which now has 772,000 views, and you can find it on TED.com and look for Ron Finley. And you talk about the centers, and I think the fact that you said it's been watched, and now you have this dialysis center saying, we want to work with you and we want to help the community. Oh my God, Ron, that's amazing. That is.
No, it was. I was pretty floored, and I mean that was big to me, and I can't even say how that touched me. Instead of them, taking the low road or going the opposite way, and those things are popping. They're coming up all across the country. So the fact that they see this, it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. We're living in actually, with all the bad that's happening, we're living in very encouraging times, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wanna talk to you about this line that really struck to me. And you said in your TED Talk, you said, the drive-thrus are killing more people than the drive-bys. Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, people look at South Central, and we have these people that are scared to walk down the street, and because of the movies, and it was a real bad place to live. But now, there's a lot of people moving into the neighborhoods that weren't here before, and it's not as bad by no stretch of the imagination that it was, but you still hear these comments, like we live in this cesspool of drugs and gangs and just people that don't care about anything. And they still treat us like that. With me, even the way they ripped out the trees down Crenshaw, Martin Luther King, that shows that they don't really care about our communities, because it's almost like they feel we don't care about our community. But as far as to me, those are the criminals, these fast food places that basically know that this food is killing people. It's known, it's documented time and time again, but nothing's being done about that. That's not being addressed enough for me. That they can still, some cities, they're not like that. We don't have the options that other cities have, and to me it's a travesty, and it's by design. It feeds the medical industrial complex, and that it's almost like that's what our neighborhoods are for. They feed the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex. And we need to realize that we have other options.
I've never heard the term the medical industrial complex
Of course
before.
you didn't. Of course not, because people ain't seeing it like that. But think about it. That's all it is.
Wow.
Look at how many roles it plays. We talked a minute ago about the dialysis center, about the diabetes, about chronic all these chronic illnesses that want have people in wheelchairs. All this is feeding into the medical industrial complex.
Mm-hmm. And get people on pills and attached to them as opposed
forever.
to
You're going to
healthy
be
greens.
on this pill. You're going to be on this pill forever.
And instead of telling somebody, hey, maybe if you change your diet for 9 days, you might change your blood pressure. Or maybe if I showed you how to breathe, that might even change your life. But they're not doing it. And maybe you should stop eating this and maybe put some of this in your diet. Doctors are not telling people that. These doctors know that. They know that you can change your life in 9 days if you change your meals. But that how do they make money out of that?
My guest this morning is Ron Finley, who is an urban farmer out of South LA, or South Central, as he calls it. And he's changing lives around him every day. I found his talk through TED.com. So just go to TED.com and search for Ron Finley, and you can listen to the tech talk that he gave about the way in which we eat and the food that we put in our bodies. Obviously, there's a lot of issues that we've raised in this very brief conversation. We're talking about access to quality food, making sure that our health is in order, ensuring that we have community partners, making sure that families know that they can grow these foods themselves and eat healthier and have options. And obviously corporations that could potentially come in and help, such as the Whole Foods or any other healthy eating options. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of work. Do you think that South Central, South LA, and other communities across the country are ready to make those changes?
Well, when you say it's a lot of work for who is the question, Wendy? I mean, when you say who's it a lot of work for?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, you're one man trying to change
you mean
one
for
community.
Me? No, I mean,
but not just for you, but for everybody. Like an individual living that has known these conditions all their life, and that's all they know. How easy is it for them to change?
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard as hell to change. But no one's gonna dispute that because it's status quo, and it's hard to break that. It's hard to break the status quo. It's hard to break stuff that you've been shown that's right. It's hard. It's almost like some of the song "Losing My Religion." This is a religion to a lot of people. Whereas this is how I eat, and this is how my mama ate, and this is how her mama ate. Why would I change this? And I mean, I think that to break the cycle, you have to change your mind. You have to change the minds of your children so they don't continue to do this. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it has to be done. It has to get done, or we will continue to be annihilated. We will continue to be under siege, and that's basically what we are. We're under siege,
Yeah, when you attack what a person eats, that's the beginning of everything. That's how we nourish our body.
No doubt. I mean, that's our energy. That's our fuel. That's our life force. But the first thing is that we cannot do without, period, is air. Okay, and then the next is food and water. And all of these things are under siege. We pay more for water than we pay for gas if you're buying it at the store. And people complaining about gas prices. The food is ridiculous. We get food that's sprayed and manipulated, and everything else on earth is done to it, so it's not in its truest form. So basically, we're not eating food. We're eating stuff that's been manufactured in a lab. And that's why my stance is grow your own food. Period. Build your own community. Stop looking for people to bring it to you. They're not. The cavalry's not coming. Our neighborhoods need triage. Okay, and just like they'll tell you when you take one of these emergency courses for earthquake or anything, we're not coming to you. So you need to fend for yourself for X amount of days, and that's where we are right now. We've been there for a long time, and we're still there. These communities need triage, and we're the ones that need to do it ourselves.
Sounds like you're talking about like an emergency when it comes to food. This
It is an emergency.
Lack of
It
food.
is an emergency. When you see these kids, these overweight kids, and you go and they can't breathe and they can't run and they can't play and they can't enjoy life the way I think it should or feel it should be, it's an emergency. It's an emergency. When you look at these rates of diabetes, pre-diabetes, when you look at the rates of incarceration for certain communities, it is. It's an emergency.
I don't even know what to ask you anymore, Ron. I know you're just dropping all kinds of knowledge.
No, it's really not knowledge at all. And I'm not one of those studied, read, academic kind of guys by no stretch of the mind. I'm common, man. I'm as common dyslexic man as they can get, but common sense is a beautiful thing. And being able to see. I can see, and I've been here. I've been to other places, so I see. All this to me is by design.
My grandmother has a really good phrase that she uses: is that you have eyes but you don't see.
Exactly.
I think that's what happens a lot in our community.
That was one of the songs. What was that rap group? You're blind, baby. Even though your eyes are open, you're still blind.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me this morning. Obviously, there's a lot of issues that you've addressed when it comes to our communities, especially when it comes to our health, like diabetes, obesity, healthcare, chronic diseases, and the foods that we eat. Final thoughts for our listeners, if they could take one thing away from your talk and from the work that you're doing.
I see I'm on the radio, and my would be plant some stuff, but and I'm sure you know the line, but get a garden, share your food with your neighbors, build your community. That's what I want people to take home for this. Change your health, change your life, and change the lives of people around you. That's what Don't let your kids carry on this legacy of unhealthiness.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Joining me just now was Ron Finley, and you can follow this Gangsta gardener on Twitter at Urban Food Forest and learn more about his work through his website at lagreengrounds.org. Let me give you some stats. According to the Centers for Disease Control, nearly 26 million Americans have diabetes and an estimated 79 million adults have pre-diabetes. When it comes to obesity, more than 1/3 of adults are obese. And in 2010 alone, more than 1/3 of children and young adults were obese or overweight. And of course, both obesity and diabetes affect African Americans and Latinos at a higher rate. However, there are steps that you can take to better yourself and your family. For example, you can talk to your healthcare provider about how to manage your blood glucose, which is your sugar, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol. You can learn about what foods and drinks belong in a healthy diet and about proper portion sizes. You can be physically active for maybe about 30 to 60 minutes on most days of the week. You can try to stay at a healthy weight. And I know this may be hard, but you can put down the soda and start drinking more water. All these steps are fairly easy. I know it seems a little challenging and hard, but I'm doing it too, and you can do it with me. We can all improve our health one day at a time. Thank you so much for listening. This is Knowledge is Power on Power 106. I'm Wendy Carrillo, and you can follow me on Twitter at Wendy Carrillo.